All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we're making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
Good morning. Happy Friday. It is 10:04 on the East Coast, and you are joining ASAP in the morning. It's October 7th, and this morning and every morning, I am joined by Ray and a special guest, Greg Broderick of the Red Kingdom. Gentlemen, how are we doing for this Friday morning?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing awesome, guys. It's Friday.
Yes, sir.
Donkeys lost. That makes it better.
Yeah. Just like my morning cup of coffee here shows, I wish that I could just snap that game last night out of existence.
Exactly.
Goodness. Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's just like the coffee I got. I got that Snickers creamer in it. And so I got my Snickers in, I got my coffee in all at the same time. So, I'm good to go.
Yes, sir. We got our morning cup of coffee. Hope you got yours as well. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And if you're joining us this morning, give us a comment. Throw us to the comment section. We love to interact with everybody throughout the entirety of the show. We want to hear your takes on last night's Thursday night snoozer, the Broncos and the Colts. Yeah, there's gonna be lots of those jokes today. I know you guys are ready for it. But yeah, let us know about what you thought about last night's game. While you're doing that, if you're tuning in for the first time, feel free to check us out on all the platforms you see here on your screen. ASAP Sports Network. We are on YouTube at ASAP Sports Network. We've got just under 800 subs there. We're trying to hit a 1,000. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like and hit that subscribe button. On Facebook, we're at All Sports All Plays. We've got about, I think, 9,000 follows there. So we're trying to hit that 10,000 mark. So definitely help us out there. Like, share, comment is always appreciated. On Twitter at ASAP Network 1 and on Twitch at ASAP Network. And we've already got some comments rolling in from Twitch. So thank you for that show of support. Yes, that was the ugliest football game I think any of us have seen in quite a while.
Number of field goals, yeah. No touchdowns. 0 for 2, 0 for 4 in the red zone by both teams. I mean, it's so bad that they even showed the crowd leaving Empire Field at Mile High, all sad looking. And then Russell Wilson went to his press conference in his uniform. He didn't have time to take his uniform off. He had shoulder pads and all, went to a press conference.
Yeah, definitely did that on purpose because he's just trying to let me get this over with and let me get out this stadium because it was awful. But we'll open it up with that. That'll obviously going to be our first thing to talk about. Greg, being in the AFC West, covering the Chiefs with Red Kingdom. From an AFC West perspective, I know you got to be happy that the Broncos lost here. It probably make you feel all good inside watching that game. But yes. From your perspective, what did you see from that game? From the Broncos and from the Colts, seeing that the Chiefs have already played the Colts this year.
Yeah, I mean the Colts, their defense is good. Denver's defense is good, but the score is not because both defenses were good. It's because these offenses are bad. These offenses are bad. Yes, they both defenses are good, but not 12-9 good. So, but it's what I said going into the season is Russell Wilson is not the answer in Denver. And everybody thought I was crazy. I said they don't really have any weapons. Yes, they have Sutton. Yes, they have Judy. But other than that, there's nothing really there. And y'all see within the first month, they can't score touchdowns when they get inside the 20. So much pressure on this defense. The defense has to pitch darn near a shutout every week for them to win. And that's going to tire that defense out as the season goes on because they're on the field so long. And not only that, Russell Wilson is not a top 10 quarterback no more. So anybody saying, yeah, he's a top 10, no, he's not. The days of Russell Wilson being a top 10 quarterback are now done. That's just what it is. You can say it's age, the system, whatever you want to say. He's not that guy no more. And so they're going to have to try to figure something out. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. I'm going to say that now. They're not going to make it. So they got to get a different coach in there. I pray they don't get what's his name? Sean Payton. I pray they don't get him. But if it does, then oh well. But yeah, they're gonna have to get a new get a different coach in there because is fourth and 1. Okay. And I get it. You want to go for it because you don't want the game to end in a tie. Okay, fine. But run the football. Oh, no, we're going to pass it. No. And then you pass it to the best on the side where the Colts, Gilmore, that's their best corner. So nobody else was open. We just said, oh, let's throw over there to their best corner. So it was bad all around. The Denver fans were looking horrible. They walked out. They didn't even stay for the overtime. They're like, no,
right.
We're going to get out of here because we know we're probably going to lose anyway. So let's just go. Now that is, as a Chiefs fan, that's karma for the Elway years. That's karma for the Peyton Manning years, all the years that we had to suffer. Now they feel it too. As far as the Colts, it was an ugly win for them. The AFC South is still wide open, so the Colts are still in it. It's probably gonna now be a 3-team race between the Jags, them, and then Titans as well. So, big win for them. At least when we played them, we scored 2 touchdowns. So
yeah, definitely. You talk a little bit about that situation at the end of the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Broncos were in the red zone. They were already up 9-6 at this point. So even if you just run the football, which they did somewhat effectively. I mean, Melvin Gordon, he only had 54 yards on 15 carries, but Mike Boone, who we talked about yesterday on the show, he had 38 yards on 7 carries. So he was much more effective. And even if you just utilize Russ Wilson running the ball, he had 4 carries for 22 yards also. But in that situation, that was probably the worst decision they could have made. Not necessarily to dial up a pass play in that scenario. I think it was just over 2 minutes left. This happens. And if you dial up a pass play, fine. But if you're Nathaniel Hackett, or if you're calling that play, or if you're even just Russ Wilson, you're running this play, you have to go into that scenario with thinking, all right, I've got one-on-one coverage on this side, but we're ahead. And as long as I keep the ball on the ground, and he could have scrambled with it. He might not have gotten far, but that's the point, is that would have taken it down to the 2-minute warning. They could kick a field goal. They would be up at that point 12-6.
Yep.
And the Colts had shown no ability to march down the field in 2 minutes with that offense.
Mm-hmm.
So you are, as you said, you're putting that pressure on your defense, but I'm much more confident in my defense with 2 minutes left or less than that to hold on to the game. But instead, and it looked like Russ was, even though he had one-on-one coverage on the right, it looked like he was trying to look off defenders too hard to the left because he took way too long to look over and get to his read on the right.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like he took way too long because by the time he got there and went to wind up, Gilmore had caught him.
Yep.
Gilmore caught him because he had the opening right away. But if he just drops back, looks at the middle of the field first instead of looking at the left side of the field, he might have had a better shot at it. But who knows? But in this game, and then Ray, I want to get to your thoughts on each of these two. But this game featured 7 field goals, 12 punts, 25 third down stops, 4 interceptions, and 6 fumbles. You want to talk about this? This sounds like a Pee Wee football game. That sounded like it came from a Pee Wee football game. There's just it's really sloppy. But I digress. So, Ray, from your perspective, I know you're a big stats guy. So, from what you saw and what you see on the stat sheet, I mean, what's wrong with the Broncos right now?
Yeah, coach. They need to fire him. He ain't a coach. That dude don't know situational. And like you're saying, he got to that point, he doesn't know situational. What did he do? Kicked a 64-yard field goal on a 4th and 1 play that had no chance that dude was going to make a 64-yard field goal. I know he had one in one season ago or something, but still, he's not guaranteed because it's a 64-yard field goal is a low trajectory. That's probably about 15 to 10% you make that every time. You don't have a kicker that's got a stronger leg kicking that. I mean,
and it wasn't in Denver too. The game wasn't in Denver either.
No, it wasn't in Mile High. I mean, the only time you can kick a 64-yard field goal, you have a legit shot to have a better chance of getting it, is in Mile High because the air is thin.
Or if you got Justin Tucker.
Yeah, but still, the dude was practicing 64-yard field goals, and he wasn't even making them in practice in warm-ups. So you got a best player in Russell Wilson who could get you that 1 yard either with the pass or the run pass option, point blank. This situation is the same thing. They could have ran the ball, could have got up there and kicked the field goal, go up by 6. Because right now, if you look at it, they were only kicking field goals. They weren't making touchdowns. Nobody was making touchdowns. I don't know if I was watching a baseball game or a football game. I don't even know which game was. I don't know if Amazon Prime was worse than the football game itself.
Damien thought it was like a soccer game, a very high-scoring soccer game, maybe.
But I mean, if you look at it, teams will look at the Jaguars. Why haven't the teams do what the Jaguars did to the Colts? Blitz them, put pressure on them, make the statue force him out of the pocket. If you did what the Jaguars did to the Colts didn't even score against the Jaguars. No team is doing what the Jaguars did to the Colts. Putting pressure on Matt Ryan. They let Matt Ryan sit there. It didn't matter in this game. And I look at football games, and I say you got to win third down conversion. You got to win third downs. You got to win penalties. You got to win the turnover battles. You got to win the red zone. This game, you can throw all that out of the window. The best field goal kicker won this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're talking about how blitzing Matt Ryan. Well, they had 7 sacks last night, and that was something that we talked about yesterday that the Broncos on defense needed to do was to continue that pressure. They were one of the highest blitzing teams by percentage in the NFL leading into the game. But what I thought was very interesting last night is the Colts are one of the least blitzing teams in the NFL by percentage, and they brought some pressure last night, and they got to Russell Wilson 4 times. And it's also to Greg's point here, he had talked about Russ Wilson's not a top 10 quarterback anymore. Last night, Russell Wilson in passing attempts into the end zone, he was 0 for 6 with an interception. 0 for 6. So you can look at that however you want. But one thing I forgot to mention is that on that last, Rob Scott, good morning. Yes, Russell Wilson did play awful. Do not let him off the hook. Do not let him off the hook. But one thing that actually I forgot to mention with that play with 2 minutes left, KJ Hamler was wide open. He was wide open, and Russ didn't see him, didn't look for him, nothing. Because if you had seen that, that's where KJ took off his helmet and just started slamming it on the ground because he was wide open.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a Russ Wilson not reading the defense properly or wasn't going through progressions and just was like, oh, this is my play and that's where I'm going. Or was that the play call by Hackett? Hey, I want you to put it here. And Russ just goes out and does it. So this now begs a new question. Was Russell Wilson, was he a good quarterback, or is he a product of Pete Carroll? Because Geno Smith now looks pretty good playing under Pete Carroll, leading the league in completion percentage. I know it's Geno Smith, Craig. It's Geno Smith.
Yeah, Geno Smith.
Come on.
Yeah.
But Geno Smith is playing a hell of a lot better than Russell Wilson right now, and all Russell Wilson did was essentially change coaches. He's in a new organization, some other weapons, but he's got arguably the similar skill set of weapons that he had in Seattle, changing the coach, changing the play calls.
Yes, it's definitely he was a product of the system there with the Seahawks. He had one of the best defenses. All he had to do was basically hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch and play action off that and all that. So now he's in a system to where, okay, Russ, it's on you. You are the guy. And it's just not working out. His quarterback rating was 16.
Yeah. Really bad.
And 15.9.
Yeah, 15. Yeah. So
I'll give him 16. He's 15.9.
Yeah. So those that don't know, quarterback rating is a scale from 1 to 100. And anytime it's below 50, that's bad. So that's really bad. That's 15.9. Really, and Matt Ryan's wasn't no better. It was 20. But
20.2.
Yeah, 20.2. So both quarterbacks were god awful.
Yep.
But I mean, look, he's just not that guy no more. And Denver, whoever the next coach is going to be, because Hackett's going to get fired, they have to have some sort of run first offense. It can't just be Russ throw it 40, 45 times a game and we're going to win. No. It's just not. He can't be that. Maybe back, 3, 4, 5 years ago he could. But now it's just not. And they also have to give more weapons there also.
Mm-hmm.
Judy is good, and Sutton is good, but they don't really have a guy that can stretch, stretch the field. So they're gonna have to look into that too during the off season.
Absolutely. And at this point, we're bringing in, we're joined this morning by Frankie the Yankee as well. Frankie, good morning. Happy Friday. How you doing?
Good morning, guys. Happy Friday. I'm doing fantastic. Russell Wilson looked terrible yesterday. The entire game looked terrible. I'll be realistic with you guys. I didn't even watch it because I had a feeling it was going to be a nothing but field goal game. And that's exactly what it was. Just terrible, terrible Thursday night football to have on Prime Video. They should have just took this game off of this week and just put it on a Sunday where it wouldn't even be televised. But we got what we got, and the Colts ended up being the victors. But I'm doing fantastic. It's wild card weekend, boys. Baseball all day today.
Absolutely. We're gonna chat about that. First game starts just after 12 o'clock today, right after we get off the air. So we'll talk about that leading up to the first game. The Rays and the Guardians coming up at 12:07, I believe, is first pitch. So we'll get into that a little bit. So yeah, and this is in a chat this morning. A friend of mine made a comment, and I thought it was hilarious. Anybody that watched or sat through that Thursday night football last night should be awarded a free month of Amazon Prime.
I agree.
Yeah, it was that bad.
Definitely.
I seen a comment this morning saying that Russell Wilson needs to fly to Tampa and ask where Tom Brady got the Fountain of Youth from.
But that brings up something I want to show everybody here. This is Denver. These are all Denver's drives here that you see on your screen. All of Denver's drives they had throughout the entire game. And just take a second to read this for a second. They come up, they get a field goal, 10-play, 49-yard drive. Okay, that's not a bad start. You want to get field goal, or you want to get touchdowns, but all right, field goal's all right. And then it goes punt, field goal, another 10-play drive. Okay. And then they have two drives in the second quarter. Only two. A punt, and then they got one right at the end of the half. That's their first half. The second half was way worse. Punt, missed a field goal due to a block. Then they get a field goal, a pick, punt, pick, and then the end of the game, and then a turnover on downs in overtime. Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, Wilson misses Pete Carroll.
Yep.
That's what, Frankie, that's what we were just talking about as you were coming on. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts too. Is it time to wrap our minds around the fact that was it Russell Wilson in Seattle, or was he a product of Pete Carroll? Because now Geno Smith is playing a hell of a lot better under Pete Carroll. And you see Russ Wilson really only traded coaches, and now he looks horrible. Is that play calling? Or Frankie, do you think it's a product of the fact that he's not playing with Pete Carroll anymore?
Yeah, it's definitely the fact that he's not playing with Pete Carroll no more. He got drafted to Seattle, and his first coach was Pete Carroll, and they built a connection, even winning a Super Bowl together. And now you got Russell Wilson, who got, basically traded to the Denver Broncos on a new head coaching scheme with wide receiver corps that he's never played with. It's tough for Russell Wilson right now, and it goes to show that he needs Pete Carroll, and he misses Pete Carroll really bad, because you got Pete Carroll on the other end, like you said, winning games with Geno Smith and making Geno Smith look fantastic, getting back-to-back games over 300 yards and everything like that. I don't even think Russell Wilson has hit a 300-yard mark yet this season. So, I mean, sometimes it plays that factor where a quarterback needs a coach and a coach needs a quarterback, right? You look at what I'm dealing with Bill Belichick. We miss Tom Brady, and it doesn't look the same. It's vice versa for Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll is doing phenomenal. He's doing fantastic with the Seattle Seahawks, with Geno Smith, compared to Russell Wilson having terrible times and having trouble games with the Denver Broncos, where everybody thought that the Denver Broncos are going to be something different, because they got Judy and such forth with Gordon and everything like that. It doesn't work out like that, because at the end of the day, it also comes down to coaching. I mean, yes, you got the quarterback out there on the field, but not everybody's like Tom Brady and just go ahead and say the hell with what the coach says. Listen to what I'm saying, because I'm right here on the field. No, you sometimes need that coach in your ear to tell you what's best and what you're not looking at. And clearly last night, after watching some of those games and one of them being the last play of the game where the Denver Broncos could have won it on 4th and 1 or whatever, he missed a wide open wide receiver on the right side. So if he would have seen that wide receiver open on the right side, he could have got a touchdown and end the game. But apparently he didn't do that, and I don't know why he didn't do that. And maybe the coach didn't see it as well. But it comes down to a factor on that. I'm pretty sure if Pete Carroll was his coach, Pete Carroll would have seen that and he probably yelled at Russell Wilson like, "Man, you gotta look at that play. He was wide open." So it comes down to that scheme that you need that coach, and Russell Wilson definitely misses Pete Carroll.
Yeah, and that's the play we were referring to earlier. Is that Russ? I don't know if he just didn't see KJ Hamler or wide open, or if that was the play call that he was told to run, and he only made essentially that one read because you had all of them. You had all the receivers bunched up on the left side. You had a one-on-one, and then you've got KJ Hamler who's uncovered, wide open, and you don't see him. So you got to wonder what went into that decision making. And it was a 4th and less than a yard as well. So even if they do that and do a draw play or do something to keep the clock moving, get down to 2 minutes, get a field goal, you're up 12-6. The Colts now have to do something they hadn't done to that point, which is go down and score a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. But so now on the Colts perspective, the Colts are now they pull back even. They're 2-1 in the hunt for the AFC South. So in this game, yes, it was an ugly win, but a win is a win. For the Colts now, I'm going to open it up to you guys. We'll start with Ray since you're very close to the AFC South. What, if you're in-house and you're Frank Reich right now, how much confidence are you going to have in your team to make a run at the AFC South?
Well, the only thing is, like I tell people, when you play NFL games, you got to win all your home games, point blank. Your team, like the Jaguars, like Indianapolis right now, they have to win all their home games because they're not going to win many road games. And it's evidence on the contrary right now. But you got to steal at least 1 or 2 games on the road. Colts stole the game at Denver. Jaguars stole the game at San Diego, at LA, on the road. But the Jaguars situation is they have a team that can counteract Indianapolis. And they showed it here in Jacksonville. Even though they go up to Indianapolis coming up in 2 weeks, they play Indianapolis again in 2 weeks. That could start Indianapolis's hopes right there if the Jaguars in first place, because if they beat Indianapolis at Indianapolis, Jaguars got 2 games on them. The team that right now that everybody thinks is going to win the AFC is going to be Tennessee because of Derrick Henry. We know Derrick Henry is the kryptonite to the Jaguars. He always has a great game against the Jaguars. He has over 200 some odd yards against the Jaguars. But this year's a different story because even though the Jaguars got handled up in Philly, but the condition was bad, they didn't think the condition was going to be that bad. Lawrence had 5 turnovers on fumbles because he didn't wear a glove. People complain because he didn't wear a glove. Glove ain't going to help you on a slick football. I'm sorry. But for the Indianapolis Colts, this is a little bit of a momentum for them because they didn't have Jonathan Taylor. They won a game without Jonathan Taylor there. So that gives them a little bit of hope, just a slim hope. But they still got to go play Tennessee. They still got the Jaguars coming to them. They got to play Tennessee twice. They'll probably manhandle Houston because right now Houston is not that very good. They only got that running back Pierce right now. That's the only thing they got going for them right now. So Jaguars got to handle their business Sunday against Houston. Indianapolis got to win out. If they can't beat Tennessee or the Jaguars, their season could be in doubt. And I'm thinking Frank Wright's on the hot seat right now. I think he's on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
So. Absolutely. I think that's something that we talked about the other day was what coaches are on the hot seat, and Frank Reich's name has been thrown out there. Sitting at 2-1, what you do have as a positive is the fact that the other teams right now in the AFC South, both the Jacksonville Jaguars and Tennessee Titans, are 2-2. But if I'm Frank Reich, I'm a lot concerned at how inept the offense is, because through now 5 games, you're your scoring differential is -25. You've scored 69 points. Nice. And you've allowed 94 points. So like you look at like at home, they're 1-1, on the road, 1-1 and a tie. But that's what that's what one thing that makes a successful team is you have to at least have a positive or 0 point differential to have essentially a 500 football team. And right now they're -25 and they're still 500, which is astonishing to me that they're able to do that. But so Frankie and Greg, I'll open it up to you guys. How much, if you're Frank Reich right now, thinking that you might be on the hot seat, how much confidence do you have knowing that you just won a game in a battle of field goals without Jonathan Taylor in a rough environment, and you're still 500 and you're within striking distance of the division? How confident are you the rest of the way if you're the Colts?
Well, I'm confident as long as the defense for the Colts continues to play well. And when Jonathan Taylor comes back, be able to run the football. Matt Ryan is not going to be out here throwing for 350 yards and winning games. That's just not what it's not going to happen. So it's going to be about defense and running the football. If the Colts can do those two things well, they're going to win, more games. If the run game gets shut down or the defense has some off games, then they're going to lose games. It's simple as that. Matt Ryan is a average quarterback. You can't, if the Colts are ever in a game where it's like, man, we got to throw this ball 40, 45 times to win this game, they are going to lose that game. Matt Ryan is not that quarterback that he was in 2016. So in order for them to win the South, it's going to be about defense and running the football. That's the only way they can have a chance of winning the AFC South.
Absolutely. And the comment was also made here. Remember, too, the defense is without Shaq Leonard. Yeah, Shaq Leonard didn't play last night as well. Yeah. But so, Frankie, if you're the Colts right now, how confident are you the rest of the way, knowing that your offense is really struggling right now?
I wouldn't be confident at all, honestly. I would be nervous because, like Ray said, you have really a tough division. I mean, the Jaguars are looking pretty solid. They dominated the Chargers a couple of weeks ago. I mean, yes, they lost to the Eagles last week, but the Eagles are looking more tougher than any time they've done in a couple of years. And then on top of that, you got Tennessee. I'm not really fond of Tennessee, though, because they did lose Treylon Burke, and they still have Ryan Tannehill. I'm not solid with Ryan Tannehill just yet. So it just comes down to Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry isn't the Derrick Henry we know that likes to be called the king. Ever since he got injured and, he's back from that injury, he hasn't been looking as perfecting as we expect him to be. So, but at the end of the day, if I'm still the Colts, I would not be confident because you're, like you guys said, they're not putting up that many points. They have a total of about 65 plus points in a year compared to giving up 90 plus scores. So if I'm the Colts, something has to change offensively. I mean, especially after last night's game, hitting nothing but field goals. That's not going to win you games coming up in the season. And if I'm not mistaken, they have a tough schedule coming up. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but I'm pretty sure they have a tough schedule coming up. So something has to change. Matt Ryan isn't the answer, and I've said it since day one when Matt Ryan got traded to the Indianapolis Colts that he wasn't going to be that answer for them. Matt Ryan isn't that guy. I mean, this is a guy who went to Super Bowl 51 and lost to Tom Brady and the Patriots after being up 28-3 or 25-3. You know, like it's not gonna happen with Matt Ryan, and then it's really nerve wracking if I was Frank Wright because you brought in Matt Ryan and got rid of Carson Wentz, and honestly, realistically, I think Carson Wentz looks better on paper than Matt Ryan right now, even though the record wise doesn't look sufficient for them. I still think Carson Wentz would have been a better answer than Matt Ryan.
Yeah, that was something we talked about yesterday is how the Colts wanted to make the move from Carson Wentz and go to Matt Ryan, but the fact that Carson Wentz now looks better when he left Indy now in Washington, even though, like you said, the record doesn't necessarily show it, he looks better now than what at least Matt Ryan is doing with the Colts. You mentioned the schedule leading up to their Week 14 bye. The Colts have to they play home against Jacksonville and then at Tennessee. And they play the Commanders, the Patriots, the Raiders, Eagles, Steelers, and the Cowboys. They've got four road games over the next couple weeks. And, a couple of those, the next two games are divisional games. So the next two games for the Colts are extremely crucial because that can put you near the bottom of the division with the Texans. If you don't do so hot, especially the fact that you went up to Jacksonville and got shut out 24-0, so you got to be able to avenge that. And you lost to the Tennessee Titans as well. So they're trying, if they go 0-2 against both of those teams, they have no shot of even getting to the playoffs, in my opinion.
And they tied with the Houston Texans early on in the season. And we all know when we see teams that tie, it's really, really hard for you to try and even get into a playoff position when you have a tie on your record. So that's another thing to look at for the Indianapolis Colts. And like you said, that's a tough schedule. I see, honestly, Craig, I'm not going to lie, I see probably 2 wins coming out of that streak for the Colts, max, if that. They'll be lucky to get 2 wins.
Yeah, I think this the way that they're playing right now, I think defensively they could if Pittsburgh continues to play the way they will, I think that could be one of their wins. The Commanders would be the other win, I think, but out of that, which is at a minimum, and even those aren't easy. So I'm with you there, Frankie. I think they have a really, really tough stretch ahead of them potentially, especially based on how poorly their offense has been playing.
And then to that, Commanders could have Chase Young back on the defense.
Yep, he has been out for the first few weeks of the season. They are really hoping that he comes back and helps bring an extra weapon to that defense. But yeah, he's looking to come back at some point here. So they're anxiously waiting for Chase Young's arrival.
But you also got to think about it too. When Carson Wentz comes back to play in Indianapolis, he's gonna have a chip on his shoulder too. So
yeah, that's a great point.
And I was just gonna say that I would not be surprised if when Carson Wentz comes back to Indianapolis to face the Colts and he gets a victory on them, there's no doubt about it that the Indianapolis Colts should move on from Frank Reich. That will be the answer right there, from him being on the hot seat to him getting fired midway through the season. To get rid of Frank Reich, you just lost to the quarterback that you got rid of in your own stadium. That's the solid answer right there to get rid of Frank Reich if he loses.
Yeah, that I would not be surprised to see Carson Wentz come out and they throw 40, 50 times in this game just to prove a point that he was not the reason why the Colts didn't meet their goals last year. For the Colts, if they're going to fire him and stuff, you better hope Hersey's not dealing prescription drugs outside the stadium. Yeah. We talked a bit about Jim Irsay and his he seems to be very Jerry Jones light, the light version of Jerry Jones.
With a drug problem.
But with the drug problem.
But I will say this about the Colts. I'm really surprised at their record. They're 2-2-1. But I don't like to call them 2-2-1. I like to call them AFC West 2-1. Because they got their 2 victories. Yeah. I told you, Greg, I told you I was coming for the smoke. All right, Indianapolis Colts is AFC West 2-1.
They are. They are that. And it's kind of crazy because I feel like whichever AFC South team does well against the AFC West, that's the team that's probably going to make the playoffs out of the South. So Colts are off to a good start as far as that.
Yeah, but
they
the
just
problem,
played AFC West teams every week, they'd be in good
but
shape.
the problem is they can't beat their own division.
They can't beat
Yeah,
their own.
that's-
Exactly.
yep.
No.
And that's the key. You got to win within your own division. And so far, the Colts have not done so. They're 0-2-1 against their own division.
Yeah.
Which is not a good spot to be in if you are Frank Reich trying to essentially coach for your job this year. Because the high expectations that they had, not only last year, but even this year, changing the quarterback. That's another team that we thought was, hey, they're just a quarterback away.
Yeah.
Because they got weapons on defense. You got weapons in the running game on offense, and they just have not looked good through the first 5 games of the season.
And also on top of that, the Jaguars don't have a problem winning in Indianapolis. So,
Yeah.
the Indianapolis has a problem winning in Jacksonville.
I have a quick breaking news update by Ian Rappaport. Injuries issue continue for the Buffalo Bills. Head coach Sean McDermott rules out tight end Dawson Knox, safety Jordan Poyer, cornerback Christian Benford, wide receiver Jake Kamoro, and wide receiver Jamison Crowder, who is probably heading to the IR. So injuries continue to happen for Buffalo, and I hope more injuries happen for Buffalo.
Let them all be injured next Sunday. Because if that's the same injury report next week, Chiefs are scoring 40. I'm saying that right now. And it's not going to come down to no 13 seconds and all that. So Buffalo's not healthy. That's going to be a long day for them next Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Because even though the Chiefs won that playoff game, the way everybody talked after that and how Buffalo's, the AFC favorite, is kind of put a chip on the Chiefs' shoulder. Say, well, wait a minute, we beat them, but they're the favorite. Everybody's talking about them like they've been going to AFC championship games and Super Bowls the past 4 years. So that game is just like the Chiefs took the Tampa game very personal this last Sunday. They're going to take that Buffalo game personal.
True.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the upcoming slate here for this weekend for the NFL. I'm going to try to get this. We're going to try to do this right. See if we can get this screenshot. There we go. We can see it. All right. So these games coming up. We've got another London game coming up Sunday morning. We got the Giants and the Packers, and then the 1:00 slate. Bears, Vikings, Falcons and the Bucks, Lions, Patriots, Texans, Jags, Chargers, Browns, Dolphins, Jets, Steelers, and the Bills, and then Seattle, New Orleans, and Tennessee, Washington. So out of that 1:00 slate, what game are you guys most looking forward to? Ray, we'll start with you.
I'll be in Jacksonville. I'll be at the TIAA Bank Field supporting the Jaguars against the Texans. I'll be sitting behind the bench of the Texans and heckling the hell out of them. That's what I'll be doing on Sunday. I sit 4 rows from the visiting team bench, and the problem is it'll probably be their defensive line that'll be sitting in front of me, so I'll be heckling the defensive line all game long. That's where I'll be at on Sunday.
Awesome. Absolutely. That's a fun stadium if you've never been there. I lived in Jacksonville for a few years. It is a fun stadium to go check out. I know there's no shade there though, so if it's hot.
Actually, the only shade that is on the home team side. If you sit on the east side where I sit at, you're in the hot sun all game long.
Yeah. The best, but one of my favorite parts about that stadium is the Bud Light zone. It's down the end zone. You get a game ticket. Anybody can access that area. It's like a big party there. It's awesome. The tailgating in Jacksonville is actually amazing, by the way, in the morning. So that's all right. That's the game Ray's looking forward to. He's actually going to be there. So that'll be a lot of fun for you. Greg, what game are you looking forward to here on this 1:00 slate?
Chargers against the Browns. I want to. Is the real Chargers team going to stand up? They got blown out by the Jags 2 weeks ago. Then they had a good win here this last week. So I want to see, are they going to keep it going, or is Cleveland going to continue to keep shocking people and winning with Jacoby Brissett as their quarterback? So that is a interesting game right there. Cleveland has already I know the record is 2-2. They should be, 3-1 if it wasn't for that horrible last 2 minutes against the Jets.
Right.
The Browns are playing better than what we thought they were going to play without Watson. So, I'm going to lean towards Cleveland because that game is at Cleveland. I think Cleveland can actually win that game.
Yeah, they have one of the strongest running games in the NFL, and that not only that helps you control the clock, but it helps keep your defense fresh if you can run the ball effectively. And the Chargers, Justin Herbert still dealing with that rib injury. You can definitely tell he's not 100%, and it's only going to get worse throughout the rest of the season. So the Chargers traveling cross country to play against the Cleveland Browns will definitely be one to watch. Frankie, I feel like I already know, but I think I got to ask anyway. What game are you looking forward to in the 1:00 slate?
You already know, baby. Sunday. It's Frankie Foxborough C versus Craig out there. We're going back and forth, baby. It's Patriots versus Patriots versus Lions. Aiden Hutchinson, we got to watch out for him. We don't know who's going to start on our quarterback position yet. Is it going to be Mac Jones? New Sunday back. Who I'm really game last week against the Packers and Aaron Rodgers going into overtime and only losing by 3. And what I'm really most excited for this Sunday is to just see the Patriots wear their throwback uniforms, the Pat Patriots red uniforms. We haven't worn them in over a decade, so we get to finally wear those Sunday against the Lions, and I can't wait to watch it, man, because I'm going to come back on Monday and I'm just going to laugh at Craig's face.
Well, that's obviously the game I'm looking forward to the most as well. And not only that, it's the way the Lions have been playing. They have the top scoring offense in the NFL, but they're also dead last in scoring defense. So the way the Dan Campbell MO is, let's get down by 15, 20 points, and then we'll come roaring back. We'll make it a game. We'll beat the spread, but we'll lose by 3. That's been the MO of Dan Campbell so far. I give a lot of credit to Jared Goff right now, who I've been on that train. Let's let him see what he can do instead of go and try to go get Malik Willis or something last year in the draft. He's been doing really well without weapons. DeAndre Swift is going to be out yet again this coming weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if I wouldn't be surprised if Amon-Ra St. Brown is out again this weekend. But the question mark for me is not the Lions offense, because they've shown that they can still score points even without their top 2 weapons, but it's the defense. A lot of these guys on defense, and I give a lot of credit to Jeff Okudah. He's really come out and been starting to play like the guy we expected him to be when they drafted him in the top 5 a couple of years ago. But it's the rest of that defense. Aiden Hutchinson has had one really good game, one really good half, and he's kind of disappeared, but he's still a rookie. There's a lot to learn. But that linebacking core, good Lord, that linebacking core. Outside of Malcolm Rodriguez, the rest of the linebackers couldn't start for any other team in the NFL. That's how bad this linebacking core is right now. So that's what I'm interested to see is if the Lions lose to the Patriots and the Patriots, led by Matt Patricia, score more than 30 points, Dan Campbell's got to be on the hot seat. Or Aaron Glenn has to be on the hot seat, the defensive coordinator for the Lions. You cannot allow an offense that is led by the inept Matt Patricia to score over 30 points with a potentially third-string quarterback. I know the defense is bad, but you can't allow that to happen if you want to take that next step and not be what we call in Detroit, quote-unquote, same old Lions, SOL.
So my question to both of y'all: do you take the over or you take the under in this game? The over is it's 45.5 is the spread is the over and under.
Over.
Is it going to go over 45 or is it going to stay under 45 this game?
Hammer the over. Every single game, the Lions have beat the over.
I'm going to say under.
I'll say over because the Lions' defense is so bad. Yeah, over.
Yep. The Lions have showed they are the top scoring offense, but they've given up the most points. When you allow Seattle to come, hasn't been playing super well through the first couple weeks, when you allow the Seattle Seahawks to come into your house and put up a 50 burger on your defense, that's a problem. That's a problem.
But if you look at the Lions, though, if you look at Detroit's only lost 3 points to the Eagles.
Yep.
They lost 9 points to the Commanders. Oh, they beat the Commanders by 9 points. They lost by 4 points to Minnesota, and they lost 3 points to Seattle. They've been in every game.
Yeah.
So you know why that is? Because of what I already said. They got down big early in the first half. They were down by 17 points, I believe, to the Eagles in week 1. They came storming back in the fourth quarter. They had a full control of the game against Commanders. They should have beat the Vikings, but the defense gave up game-winning plays in the fourth quarter. So they had the Vikings in a position to win on the road division game. Against the Seahawks, they also got down. I think it was by 17 points again. They were down 17 points and had to make another big comeback, and then it became a shootout in the fourth quarter. So, yes, that's what I've been saying this whole time, Ray, is that, yes, they have close games, and they've had a lot of close games under Dan Campbell. The problem is they get down 17, 20, 24 points, and then they have to score. They have to score a lot to even get back in the game. They do so, but then they lose by 3 points, i.e. go back to last year's game against the Ravens. They had to make a comeback. They had it there, and then lost to Justin Tucker's field goal that never should happen. But so that's what I look at. I would not be terribly surprised to see the Patriots take this game, especially being at home. You're not really sure who the quarterback is right now, but this is a revenge game for Matt Patricia. Of course they're going to come out firing. So I'm not 100% surprised if the Lions do lose. But I say, if they score over 30 points, Aaron Glenn, somebody's got to get fired. You can't allow that. You just can't allow it.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn is the worst defensive coordinator in football right now.
And that's a crazy thing to think about because he's a great leader. Like he's a great players love to play for him. The problem is I don't know if it's him dialing up the coaching scheme on defense or who's dialing that up, but it is not working right now. And it hasn't worked for the last 2 years in Detroit. So you got to start looking at that. Dan Campbell also makes terrible game management decisions. He's almost as bad as Nathaniel Hackett.
I don't think nobody's bad as Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah, nobody's bad
as Nathaniel
Hackett.
Dude, if you look what Nathaniel Hackett did in Jacksonville, he had Aaron Rodgers up in Green Bay. That's what he got his little thing. But that offense that he called in Jacksonville was wide receiver screen. Didn't work. I can tell. I called the plays from the stands, and everybody looking at me like, "What are you doing? I called the plays." He runs up the middle twice. he passes balls on third down, and the pass don't even go 10 yards. If they need 7 yards, he'll run a 2-yard route and they get stopped. So,
yep. All right. There's only 3 4:00 games this Sunday: San Francisco, Carolina, Dallas, and LA, and then Philly in Arizona. So of these games, Frankie, I'll start with you. Of these 3 games, or even let's go to the Sunday night game. We'll lump all that into one. Sunday night game is Cincinnati, Baltimore. Of those 4 games, Frankie, which one of those are you looking forward to watching?
I'm looking really forward to watching the Dallas Cowboys and the LA Rams. That game it looks really, really good to me. Cooper Rush is looking really good. 4-0 as the starter quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. And you got Sam Bradford, or not Sam Bradford, I apologize, Matthew Stafford. I had to compare the two because that's what Matthew Stafford's playing like right now. He's not looking really good at all. I mean, yes, he's got Cooper Kupp and everything like that, but Cooper Kupp can't be a one-man team for this offense. I mean, they need more help. Matthew Stafford is not looking good. Defensively, they look great. They're supposed to be. But just offensively, he's not looking like the Super Bowl MVP that we saw last year. And also on the other side with the Dallas Cowboys, you got CeeDee Lamb, who might be questionable in this game. So now you have Cooper Rush, who has to look around and see who he wants to throw it to and stuff. I think it's going to be a fantastic game to look at this week, man.
Greg, how about you?
I'm looking forward to that Bengals-Ravens game on a Sunday night. Can the Ravens bounce back from, they should be 4-0. They blew the game with the Dolphins. They didn't kick the field goal there in the fourth quarter against the Bills. So can they bounce back? The Bengals, they start off the season rough. They've kind of gotten back on track here the past couple weeks. So battle for the AFC North. Everybody knows that I hate the Bengals. So if the Ravens
I wonder why. Why, Greg.
Yeah. 2 games they shouldn't have won last year. But anyway. I would expect the Ravens to win that game, but what I always say, coaches, if you believe in analytics, you will lose your job. Stop following analytics and people that have never played the game. All they know is numbers. John Harbaugh lost that game because of analytics. It's 4th down. The game is tied. Kick the field goal. I don't care what that play sheet says or that number thing. Oh, well, if you go for it and get a touchdown, it's a 75% chance you win. No, it's a 100% chance you're going to lose if you don't kick the field goal. Let's start there. Let's start doing that.
In that situation,
yeah,
you take the points because wins are what matter in the NFL. Exactly.
So, as long as he quits doing that, then the Ravens are going to have a good chance here. So, I expect the Ravens to bounce back and actually win that game.
All right, Monday. Ray, out of these 4 games, which one are you looking forward to?
Arizona Cardinals and the Eagles. I want to see the Eagles defense against a mobile quarterback. That's what I want to see because Murray can beat you with the arm and the legs. And he's a magician back there, too, with them legs going. And you see what he did against the Raiders. His legs came into play, and he was passing the ball. So I like to see it. I like to see that because now Kingsbury needs to roll him out. If he gets out on that perimeter where he can run and pass the ball, he's going to be more effective against the Eagles defense. And he's going to put a lot of pressure on the Eagles defense because they got to worry about his legs. So that means if that pass rush does not come in their lanes and get out of their lanes, hey, Kyler Murray can have a big day on the ground.
Absolutely. I think the game that I'm looking forward to the most is Dallas and LA. while the Bengals and Ravens is intriguing, Eagles and Cardinals are also intriguing for their own things because the Eagles have never trailed in the second half. They're 4-0. And that high-powered offense, San Francisco, Carolina, I think San Francisco looks a lot better than people were giving them credit for. You can say whatever reason you want as to why maybe they look better on offense, but I'm looking at Dallas. Yeah, I'm looking at Dallas and the Rams because right now the entire NFC West is 2-2. The NFC East, you've got the Eagles at 4-0, but you've got both the Giants and the Cowboys at 3-1. And just what Frankie was talking about here, that I want to see not only Cooper Rush continue to see if he can continue to do what he's been doing. You mentioned 4-0 as a starter, 3-0 this season. How is that team going to be able to continue their momentum? And for the Rams, what can you do on offense to get yourself out of this slump? You mentioned Cooper Kupp being essentially a one-man band. And part of it is the Rams are turning Matt Stafford into what he used to be when he was with the Detroit Lions and had Megatron on his team, Calvin Johnson. They would not run the football. They threw it 55 times a game, and they basically, a lot of times, they might throw some underneath stuff, but they kept force-feeding Calvin Johnson, and then they would chuck it deep. They ran similar plays all the time. The Rams are starting to turn into that. They're allowing more sacks than they have, so they're missing Whitworth on the offensive line desperately. The offensive line isn't playing well. They're giving up a ton of sacks. They're putting Stafford in positions that he's not able to either read the defense and get through his progressions fast enough, or Stafford's just force-feeding Cooper Kupp. And you have more weapons than that, but they're not utilizing. Cam Akers has been, I don't know where he went, but put him on a milk carton because he's been gone. He's disappeared. I don't know where he went.
They need to get Allen Robinson involved more. They're not putting much thought into Allen Robinson being in this lineup. Allen Robinson is a top tier wide receiver, and if you're not going to feed the man, you might as well just hand him off to another team. Send him over to New England because we can use him, no doubt about it. If you're like, Allen Robinson is that guy. He's shown it many times that he can be that dude, and LA is just not using him. I don't know why. He can be like that Odell Beckham Jr. type of receiver for them. I feel like if they get Allen Robinson more involved in the offensive game, things will be different for them offensively. But the reason why they're still looking the way they're doing is because, one, their running game, Cam Akers, like you said, where is he? On the milk carton somewhere if somebody's finding him. We don't know what the number is because we're not going to call for him. But then you got Cooper Kupp, who's just doing it by himself. Give credit to Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee's, that's my dude. He's obviously my fantasy tight end, and I need him to do what he's doing. But you got those two just like, it's not gonna work out for Matthew Stafford. You need to get more people involved. You brought in Allen Robinson for a reason. Use the man. Don't just give him one or two plays a game. You got to use the man.
Well, I can piggyback on all of this. What's going on with Matthew Stafford is his offensive line is not getting him time to go to his second, third, or fourth read. He only gets the ball and he has to go to his first read because by the time he goes to his second and third read, he's on his back. Yep. Another thing is, how bad is his elbow? His elbow's been hurting since last year. He hasn't got no operation on it. He hasn't even gone and looked at the doctor looked at it. He's playing on an injured elbow. He needs to find how severe that injured elbow is because it's affecting some of his throws. I mean, some of his throws are coming in low trajectory, so the defensive line can put their hands up and block it. So, but you also got to look too. He has to take a 5 or 6 step drop. He only gets time to read his one progression because the offensive line is letting the blitz come up the middle. They can't protect him. That's the problem. And as much as everybody wants to blame Matthew Stafford on it, you got to blame the offensive line because they're not getting no time, and you got to. The head coach has got to see that. The head coach has got to see that and go to his offensive coordinator and say, hey, you need to figure out this offensive line. That's if you have to mismatch them, fix them up a little bit, change some positions around, and try to find an offensive line that can protect him because He's just sitting duck back there. And you talk about Allen Robinson and getting him involved. Allen Robinson is the number 2 wide receiver behind Cup. So he's on that second progression. He's not the primary on every play. Cup is always going to be the primary. So by the time he looks at him and then he turns around and looks at Allen Robinson, he's on his back.
Yeah, Allen Robinson was brought in to kind of be that Odell Beckham, that extra bigger-bodied receiver. Allen Robinson, possession receiver, red zone threat, but they're not utilizing him in that capacity. And that's where I'm with you, Frankie. Higbee, just keep feeding Higbee because I got him on my fantasy team too. But
that's all right. Allen Robinson can come back to Jacksonville. Jacksonville just go get him.
That's where he was his best, I think, in Jacksonville. So. But the
Rays,
I think, get out of here, Ray. Get out of here. I already called for Allen Robinson to come.
No, I got him first because I'm telling you what. If Allen Robinson comes back to Jacksonville with the quarterback we have right now, he'll be that number 1 wide receiver for Jacksonville. Because right now Jacksonville don't have an actual number 1 wide receiver. Say Jones is good. He's good at number 2. What?
Have a number 1.
Yeah, but you got Matt Jones. I see Matt Jones play in high school and all that stuff down here at Bowles, and you're in Jacksonville.
You got Devontae Parker, Frankie. Is that not good enough?
Listen, Devontae Parker's a good. He's okay. I like what Devontae Parker's finally showing up to do. But I would still like an Allen Robinson to line up alongside him. I mean, you got Nelson Aguilar who's looking good as well. You know, catching some surprising catches and stuff like that. But don't you sleep on Mac Jones, Ray. Don't you do it. Mac Jones had a better rookie year than Trevor Lawrence.
I see Matt Jones play in high school at Bowles. So
if Allen Robinson wants to play for the best quarterback in the league, he can.
Don't you do it,
Jared Goff.
Greg, don't you do it.
He can come here and win a Super Bowl. No, not Jared Goff.
Oh, okay.
You said Jared Goff.
Not the same quarterback that's in the top 5 in passing yards and touchdowns. No? Okay, never mind. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
I want how much Hill is missing Kansas City right now. Because right now, I mean, he's done pretty good in Miami the first few weeks, but then he sputtered the last 2 weeks. You know.
Yeah.
Well, he lost his quarterback. He lost his quarterback, and that's what happens. He did the same thing to Kansas City when Patrick Mahomes got hurt with a knee injury. Tyreek Hill didn't look as sufficient as he normally does until Patrick Mahomes came back and he started looking beast again. He's missing his quarterback, and that's what happens with Tyreek Hill, and that's why I'm just laughing. I'm sitting back and I'm laughing. I'm sad because we don't get another shot at Miami till the end of the season, and that's when probably Tua's going to come back. But I'm laughing at it right now.
Should have stayed where you was at, Tyreek.
Nah, don't do that, Greg. Greg, don't do that, Greg. Laugh at Tyreek right now.
I'm glad he's suffering a little bit. Yeah, can't lie.
I mean, at that point in your career, though, when you're a wide receiver, if you get an opportunity to get paid,
oh yeah, definitely,
you got to take it.
Yeah, got to take it.
I can't
exactly. Yeah,
I can't blame him. All right, let's shift some gears. Today's Friday, so that means tomorrow is college football. So we've got a lot of big matchups. The week is already kind of kicked off. Last night, or I should say Wednesday night, UCF destroyed SMU. We got 4 games on the slate today for college football. But really tomorrow is obviously Saturday is when all those big matchups take place. Now, there's a few top 25 games that are, let me try to get this screen back up for us here. Show everybody some of the top 25 matchups we have. And I know there's one game in particular, and it's not, and it's there it goes. And it's not, I don't know what it's doing. Hey, this is the fun stuff about live streaming television. So, all right, top 25 matchups. I guess what games are you guys looking forward to on this slate? We got number 8 Tennessee against number 25 LSU. Number 19 Kansas is hosting number 17 TCU, who absolutely destroyed Oklahoma. Yeah. You got number 11 Utah against number 18 UCLA this weekend. There's a lot of great matchups here in college football. What matchups are you guys looking forward to this weekend?
To me, it's two matchups. TCU and Kansas. I hate everything about Kansas. I hate the basketball, hate the football.
But you like the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, they're Kansas City Chiefs, not in Kansas.
They're in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri.
I never understood. Please, Greg, enlighten me here. I never understood that. Why is there Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri?
Okay, so Kansas is.
I know they're right on the river from each other, right?
Yeah. So that's west. You got to go down I-70 west. Blah blah blah. Okay, you're reaching to Kansas. On this side, the good side, Missouri. It's always been it's been a rivalry, with Kansas.
Okay.
They used to play each other, in football and basketball and all that until Missouri went to SEC, and then Kansas got all in their feelings. Said, "Well, we'll never play you guys again," and that's what happened. And but I love to see Kansas lose this game, because one thing about Kansas, especially their football fans, is you never see them. So when Kansas was sucking, you never saw anybody say, "Yeah, go Jayhawks" during football season and all that. But now that they're 5-0, now you start saying, "Oh yeah, rock chalk, yeah," and all this.
Oh, God.
It's 2007 all over again.
I said, "What are we? Are you serious? y'all hide during football season, and y'all come out for basketball season. That's
absolutely
what y'all do.
Basketball school.
Yeah, that's what y'all do." So I do expect TCU to win that game. I expect to win that game. Kansas, look, they've had a good season. This is the first good season they've had in a long time. Mm-hmm. In all honesty, it is good to see more people, at their stadium. It's not just the same, 500 people that used to go there to their games.
Now they've got 600.
Yeah, now it's 6. Yeah.
Yes. People came out of the woodwork.
College game day is going to be there, so I know they're going to be all extra hyped for that, but I still expect TCU to win that game. And then I
like chaos, so I want to see Kansas go undefeated. I like chaos. I like chaos in college football.
They're not going to go undefeated. And then USC and Washington State. I think this is going to be a sneaky good game. Mm-hmm. USC has been very good this season. They had the one scare with Oregon State. I think this game is going to be closer than what people think. Washington State's been playing pretty. They've been playing pretty good ball so far this season. So I know the spread is USC by 13. It could pop it. It's either going to be 13 or maybe a little bit less than that. I do expect that game to be closer than what people think. So those are the two games that I'll be looking forward to.
Excellent. Frankie, what college football? You interested in any college football games this weekend?
I'm right now. I'm focused on Syracuse Orange. They're looking pretty good right now. But my college team has got to be Nick Saban and Alabama. Crimson Tide. I like. Obviously, I don't like any other team. I don't care about it. All I care about is Alabama, and I'm hoping that they pull something off. Yeah, I said it, Ray. Yeah, I said it, Ray, and I'm gonna say it again.
So he's a Yankees fan, a Patriots fan.
I'm not an Alabama fan. I'm not an Alabama fan. I'm a Nick Saban fan. I like Nick Saban and what he brings to his coaching schemes and stuff. Plus all the players that the Patriots get during draft times are Alabama players. So
that's a good point. Hey, you think there's something going on there? Saban and Belichick are like, hey, I got a guy for you.
Yep.
Exactly. So I like what Alabama's doing, but I'm gonna keep my close eye on Georgia. I'm hoping that they can lose and drop down in the rankings. And also, I like to see Oklahoma State. I want to see what they're going to bring as well.
Yeah, those are all great matchups. You know, even a couple weeks ago, Texas A&M was one of those teams that this was going to be a big matchup for the Aggies traveling to Bama. So now, since Texas A&M got their clocks cleaned by Mississippi State last week, it's still an interesting game because I think that was the one game that Bama lost was Texas A&M. So that's going to be an intriguing matchup for sure. Ray, what about you? What you looking forward to?
Well, I can't give you my matchup because my college breakdown show comes on at 9:00 on Saturday. We break down all the football games. So I'll give you a little tidbit here.
Yeah.
I want to see Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban mix it up. I want to see them two fight on the field. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see because they set it up.
Let's see some coach fights in college.
They set it up during the SEC media day.
Yeah,
Jimbo Fisher going after Nick Saban. Nick Saban going after Jimbo Fisher. That's the thing I want to see. I want to see because you know how Texas A&M has played so far this year. Not up to standards.
Yep.
But now this is the game that they're looking for. This is the game that Jimbo Fisher circled on his calendar. He don't care if his team don't play good rest of the season. They got to play good against Alabama. So Alabama's looking for a revenge game from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a problem. But they're playing in Tuscaloosa. You know, it's going to be hard for a visiting team going to Tuscaloosa and win.
Yep.
You know, the red lights they got their LED lights. I don't know why these stadiums are doing it, but they're doing it. Got these lights going off in darkness and everything else. That's when they do that light change, that's when Jimbo Fisher should go across the field and just punch Nick Saban in the face. And then have a big fight right in the middle of the field. That's just me.
Chaos. Talk about
Nick
chaos.
Saban would knock that guy out.
No, hey.
I could see Nick Saban's 70-something-year-old ass drop kicking him.
But yeah, if you really want to know what I'm looking forward to, I'm looking because I got a bunch of NC State fans that I don't like. I don't like NC State because I'm a Tar Heel fan. I want to see Florida State go into Carter Fielding Stadium and put the smackdown on the freaking NC State Wolfpack. And make the head coach for NC State go to Wisconsin. That's what he wants anyway. He's already mentioned it. He said, I want the Wisconsin job. That's what he said. He has come out and said that twice before he took the NC State job. He said, when Wisconsin comes open, I'm going to go run it. But that's the only problem is Wisconsin's going to come calling for him. So.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Okay. Damien said he's interested in Michigan State, Ohio State. Here's what you need to know about this game, Damien. Ohio State by 50. Michigan State can't stop anyone through the air. They've one of the worst pass defenses in the Big Ten and the country. CJ Stroud is going to have a monster game, 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. This game's over in the first quarter.
I think Damien's getting Michigan State mixed up with just Michigan.
Hey,
whoa. I'm just saying, like he probably didn't mean to say Michigan State, but he probably just, probably meant to just say Michigan.
But Michigan State does play Ohio State this weekend, so that's,
I know. But
I understand
as I was going to say, Michigan don't play Ohio State.
Yeah, but it's a couple of good games that really intrigue me. I like rivalry games, so Texas and Oklahoma play this weekend. That's always a really good game to watch. I look at the top 25 matchups: Utah and UCLA. Utah, they lost week 1 at Florida, but they're still in the hunt for the Pac-12. They need to keep their momentum, and UCLA is really yeah, the Draymond and Poole video. I just saw that this morning too while we were on air. We might have some time to chat about that in a minute. But Utah and UCLA has been coming on strong the last couple weeks, so I think that's going to be an interesting matchup in the Pac-12. You've got we already talked about Bama and Texas A&M. One game that I am really looking forward to, we haven't talked about yet, Tennessee traveling to Death Valley to play LSU. I want to see what is Tennessee made of. You've played some, not really any tough games yet on your schedule.
Pittsburgh. They played Pittsburgh tough. Pittsburgh played them tough.
They did. Yeah, they took them to overtime. They took care of Florida last week, 2 weeks ago.
Well, anybody can take care of Florida. I mean, come on,
Right.
Anthony Richardson ain't a great quarterback for Florida. He just had a fluke game against Utah.
He had a really good game. So he's got this. So, but for Tennessee, you're now all the way up. You're in the top 10. You're traveling to one of the most hostile environments in the country in LSU. And LSU, for Brian Kelly, this is one of your next big tests. Can you win at home against a top 10 team and continue, like, because he's had a bit of a struggle the first couple weeks. His entire tenure so far at LSU has not been all roses. He's changed his accent a few times. He's made some questionable calls against Florida State, and so that stuff comes back to bite you. Tennessee this week at LSU, and then next week they've got number 1 Bama at home. Don't look ahead. Obviously it's easier said than done because you've got number 25 coming in. You're traveling to number 25, but I want to see what Tennessee and Hooker does in that game. Hooker's been one of those quarterbacks that's really been rising in the talks and conversation this year, playing quarterback in the SEC. But I want to see, what does he do in a really hostile environment? Yes, he played at Pittsburgh and it went to overtime. Pittsburgh against LSU's environment, there is no comparison. This is his first true test for Tennessee this year on the road in conference. That's the game that I'm looking forward to tomorrow at noon on ESPN.
Can I just say the state of Florida don't have no good quarterback besides Tom Brady? Just saying that right now. Yeah, I went there and I've done it.
I mean, outside of that, you got Trevor Lawrence, and right now, Teddy
Bridgewater. Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater. So,
unless
you're talking about colleges too, then you got to throw in a bunch of other names, but that's all right. All right. So college football gets started at 12 o'clock this weekend with that huge matchup. And we mentioned TCU traveling to Lawrence, Kansas to play number 19 Kansas. That's on FS1 at 12 o'clock. Michigan's got Indiana, that game, 12 o'clock on Fox. Lots of really good matchups coming up this weekend in college football. I want to touch on Rob Scott's thing here real quick because he had mentioned, I don't know, in the NBA, I don't know if you guys have mentioned this yesterday. This happened yesterday. We didn't talk about it on air, but there was an altercation. There was an altercation at practice between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole at the Warriors practice, in which Draymond Green threw a punch at Jordan Poole. Rob Scott said he just saw the video. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see this or not. If you guys did, what do you make of it?
I haven't seen it yet. I heard about it yesterday. It won't be the first time people have gotten, it's not the first time, players have tried to throw blows with each other at a practice. Draymond is not, Michael Jeffrey Jordan, so Jordan Poole might not let that slide, like Steve Kerr did, back in the day. But it's definitely not good. Draymond's kind of on his last, legs there at Golden State. So, and Steve Kerr is kind of how much longer are you gonna put up with Draymond? So, so this is the video here. Okay.
I've actually got the video here. 40 seconds. It's not going to have any sound on it, but let's watch this. So Draymond Green is actually up here. Yeah, right there. They put a little arrow to him. And Jordan Poole is actually down here on the baseline. So it looks like there's a little bit of jawing here. And he just comes right up to him, has a few words. Jordan Poole says, "Hey, get off me." And then Draymond proceeds to just try to Superman punch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So straight up, "Hey, get off me." And then Draymond comes in with the Superman punch.
Superman punch. Yeah.
Yep. And that's good right there. A little freeze frame. Show him right here. He's about ready to load one up and just, yeah.
He Kimball sliced him.
He did. He did. So
yeah.
I want to know
Wow.
what went into that. You know what I mean? Like what made you? We all know Draymond's a very emotional player. You know, he gets under guys' skin on the opposing team and sometimes his own guys. But so to me, what's going on that he's just talking the whole way, right? Talking trash, doing what he does.
Yeah.
Yes, Rob. Yep. He leaned, he did full on Superman punch. So my question is, if you're Draymond Green, okay, you're talking to Jordan Poole while he's not even running in the practice right now. He's sitting on the sideline. Jordan Poole doesn't like that he gets up in his face and aptly shoves him.
Right.
If I were him, I'd probably be like, "Hey man, what the hell you like? Get off! Yeah, get off me." But then for Draymond, what was he waiting? Has he been waiting for this? Has he been waiting to punch Jordan Poole? Like that's what I want to know because no hesitation. No hesitation. He comes right up and just jump punch.
Jordan Poole put his hands on him first.
He did. He pushed him.
Right.
him.
Now,
because look at it. So look at that. Like, what are you going to do if you're Jordan Poole? What are you going to do? Like, you're too grown. Like Rob Scott said, they haven't gotten along from the start. Jordan Poole, maybe his ego's a little bit elevated since he's been put in more of the national spotlight over the last year or two in Golden State. Yeah. So is that Draymond trying to be like, "Hey man, you're still nothing on this team. You're still third, fourth fiddle on this team." Is that what's going on? And because if that happened and Jordan Poole has a guy come up in his face, of course he's going to be like, "Hey man, get off me."
Right.
Like, "Hey, get off me." I understand that part. But for Draymond Green, why not like, okay, if you're having disagreement, why escalate right to a punch? Like, I understand guy should put his hands on you first, but you're instigating that fight. You are instigating that fight if you're Draymond Green. Why? That's what I want to know.
Well, the only way now, I will say this. I know for me, the only way it would even get to that is if you talking about my mom, dad, you talking about my kid, you talking about my wife. It's got to be something of that nature where, hey, you crossed the line. Now I got to put my hands on you.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't none of those things that I just said, then Draymond should have not even went there. If it's just regular trash talk, hey, you ain't nothing, and all that, then it didn't even need to go that way. But if it's getting personal, then that's when I can see Draymond doing what he did.
Yeah, Frankie Ray, what do you guys? I know Frankie, you kind of touched on it already. Like, what do you guys like? What do you think made Draymond go, "Oh, I'm going to get in your face. I know you're going to shove me, and I'm going to come back and just punch you"?
This is Draymond's team.
Is it though?
It is. It's Draymond's team. He won 4 championships with them with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. It's his team. If you're not going to listen to what Draymond's got to say, and you're going to be a little baby about it, and when Draymond steps up to your face and, you're going to shove the man, you're going to expect the retaliation from Draymond Green. Damn it, this is Draymond. This isn't the first person Draymond put his hands on. So if you're Jordan Poole and you a teammate of Draymond Green and you clearly don't know the state of Draymond Green's mind, then I don't know what to tell you, kid. Like, don't mess with the guy. At least, if I was Poole, I would just turn around and walk away. Just turn around and walk away because you shoved the man just because he got in your face, and you expect him not to hit you, I'll tell you right now.
Okay. That's where I want to clarify because, okay, he shoved because he got in his face.
Yes.
Just shove back. Like, okay, just shove back. You don't have to go straight to a punch. Why? Why do you want to escalate it that quickly unless you were looking for a fight? That's how I mean, you may disagree, but that's what I'm curious. Like, why would you do that?
Poole must have said something on the court and egged him on. He must have done something on the court and egged him on. Because because I feel like if Draymond Green was to just go that route and just hit him once he got shoved, then something had to happen on the court that's not being seen. And it's really sad because I want to know what the hell happened.
All right.
Yeah, this is the first time that this video has been released, and it came out. It came out early this morning, actually, right before we went on air. So this is getting all around social media. It's already 60,000 likes, 12,000 retweets. So this is something that definitely is going to gain a lot more steam over the coming days. And Rob Scott thought Draymond just wanted to fight. So I don't know. Maybe something was said by Jordan Poole. Maybe there was a few things that led to this altercation, but it just seemed to escalate way too quickly for there not to be more to this story. And so in that part, Frankie, I agree with you. I think something else had to have happened, or maybe there's just been some other things bubbling underneath the surface between these two, like Rob mentioned. But that's going to be a story to definitely pay attention to over the next couple of weeks or next couple of days, really. Rob, this is why you can't allow people to invade your personal space.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's where it comes in. Like, okay, Draymond's invading the personal space of Jordan Poole. So he says, hey, you're way too close to me and you said some stuff I don't like. I'm pushing you back. Maybe a bit forcefully, but then it escalates and gets into that. But
now, see, Steve Kerr's going to have to manage this now for the whole season.
Right.
So now we're going to see how much of Zen and all that he learned from Phil Jackson and all that. Because they might not, Draymond and Jordan Poole might not never talk to each other throughout the whole season. But when they're on that court, they're going to have to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And if I was Steve Kerr, I'd be like, hey, if y'all don't want to say nothing to each other when y'all not playing, that's y'all. But when it comes to this court, put all that to the side, team first. And he's going to have to figure it out now, because once that happens, you had a fight and a guy punches you in the face and all that, and then whatever Jordan Poole said, it's hard to be able to play with that person and be able to trust that person.
Right.
So Steve Kerr's got a heck of a job on his hands, for sure.
Yeah, Rob Scott saying Draymond better have the best season of his career, causing some issues in practice like that. But Damien has an interesting question, and I'll open it. I want to open it up to you guys. Do you think there's going to be some kind of suspension? I think at least minimum a fine for the fight in practice.
Well, I'll give you that real quick because I pull up an article. This is Jordan Poole's manager, his agent. He said that this altercation was not about money, because everybody was expecting that Draymond Green was sending somebody his money he had because he's working on a contract extension. But it's not because of that. It was because of what happened the day before. It boiled into the second practice. The day before, Draymond Green went up to Poole because Poole wasn't hustling up and down the court like he's supposed to. Draymond Green was being the leader because he's an emotional leader. He came up to him and said, hey, you need to start hustling. Thursday, the practice yesterday came up. He still wasn't hustling to what Draymond Green thought he needed to be putting into practice. That's why you see Jordan Poole was on the side, because he just got pulled out by Steve Kerr because Draymond Green went to Kerr and told him he wasn't hustling. You need to pull him out and let him watch what we're doing out here. But Jordan Poole decided he wanted to run his mouth. So Draymond Green got tired of it, so he went over there to punch him, I guess. But right now, Steve Kerr has kicked Draymond Green out of practice on Thursday. Right after this, he made him apologize to him on the court, and no cameras around. Made him apologize to him face to face with the team around. Then he told him to leave practice and don't come back until Saturday. So
Okay.
There you go. So yeah, I think Frankie, you're right. You're on point here, as you tend to be on point a little bit here. There was definitely something going on. It seems like it was just boiling over into the next day. But yeah, that's you had mentioned that this is Draymond's team. He's definitely the emotional leader of this team. And if you're not up to his standards, you're going to hear about it. And that's something that he does very, very well, is he communicates sometimes a little bit too passionately, but that kind of plays into what happened in this practice. So as things tend to come out, we'll see if there's any suspensions or fines that come out of this. I think at minimum there might be, I don't think a suspension, but there might be like a fine behind closed doors, like, hey man, you can't be doing that. Like, I understand trying to deal with this situation, but can't be doing that. Maybe that happens. We'll wait and see.
Well, you won't know if they fine him or not, because the NBA said it's up to the team to do this because it happened in practice, not on the game court. So the practice, he said he was going to handle it internally. One thing is, he told him that he won't be back until Saturday. And like some of the NFL teams, I know like the Jaguars, their defensive line, if their defensive line don't play good, they fine them. They write it on the board. We actually walked in there, did a stadium tour as a season ticket holder, and on the board it has a fine. If you run your map to the coaches on the sideline, you get fined $100. If you miss this tackle and you could have had a tackle in film study, you'll pay $100 every missed tackle you miss. So teams are finding people doing different stuff. There's different ways, but you will never find out if there's any money taken away. I believe it's going to be some money taken away. Yeah, if I was Steve Kerr, I would just tell Draymond Green not to come back until like next week.
Okay.
No.
Let it cool down.
All right. So last segment we want to talk about today. We've got 20 minutes until playoff baseball gets started. And we got the wild card round getting underway today. Tampa Bay and Cleveland are at 12:07. And then Seattle and Toronto is at 4:07. Both of those games are on ESPN. On the NL side, the Phillies and the Cardinals are at 2:07 p.m. And then the Padres and the Mets cap it off, start at 8:07 p.m. on ESPN. A full day of baseball, playoff baseball, gentlemen.
Let's go.
With these, out of these games, Frankie, I want to start with you. I know you're a big baseball guy. Which of these 4 games today are you looking forward to the most?
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Please pardon my French. I don't mean to get us in trouble, but my nipples are hard just thinking about it, baby. My belly button is super wet right now, just getting ready for some MLB playoff. And what I'm more excited to see out of these 4 games, number one, I'm excited to see the very first game of the playoff start, and that's Tampa Bay Rays versus the Cleveland Guardians. Just because out of these 2 teams, whoever's the winner out of this one gets to come to New York and play my babies, the New York Yankees. The second game I'm really excited to see is the St. Louis Cardinals versus the Philadelphia Phillies. That one's a really, really sleeper because I think everybody's picking the Phillies to win. I'm not. I'm picking the St. Louis Cardinals to win this series. I think the St. Louis Cardinals are riding on that Albert Pujols train. They're fighting for this man. They want this man to at least go one more, or go out with one more ring and go into the sunset really happy. And I think that the St. Louis Cardinals have a much better chance at beating the Phillies in this series, in this matchup. But man, am I excited for playoffs. You got the Mets versus the Padres. My man Juan Soto versus Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. That's going to be fantastic. And then you got the Red Hot Seattle Mariners versus the Toronto Blue Jays, who nobody really cares about in New York because we don't care about the Toronto Blue Jays. So I'm going to go ahead and ride with the Seattle Mariners on this one because I have a 100% chance at facing the Seattle Mariners in the ALCS because I think Seattle can beat both Toronto and Houston.
Yeah, one you mentioned the Mets and DeGrom. Actually, news has come out late afternoon yesterday, early this morning, that Jacob DeGrom may not pitch in the wild card round if the Mets take game 1 tonight. Buck Showalter said that Chris Bassett could be the starter for game 2 if the Mets win the opener, because obviously with it being only a 3-game series, if you take 2 of those games, you're moving on in the playoffs. So if they're in a must-win situation, they want Jacob DeGrom to be the guy that they hand the ball to in game 2. But if they win game 1, they might not see him at all. Maybe game 3 if necessary. So that's going to be good as well. Greg, which of these series are you looking forward to the most in the wild card round?
I'll say the Tampa and Cleveland series, only because being a Royals fan, seeing Cleveland in the Central, I didn't expect them to win the Central. I actually had the Twins win in the Central, but they came on there in the second half of the season, and then Tampa, they've been good during the playoffs the last 3-4 years. If it wasn't for their manager listening to analytics, they probably would have won the World Series against the Dodgers. But he went with the numbers and he ended up losing. So that's one that I'm interested in. Also, Mets, Padres. The Mets, remember they had that big lead in the East, and then the Braves, caught them. So I want to see, is that momentum now lost? Is that going to carry over in this wild card round, or do they kind of say, okay, that was a regular season, the Braves played good ball, they caught us, okay, now it's playoff time, so let's go ahead and play start playing our best ball now. I expect the Mets to beat the Padres in that series, but going forward after that, I want to see how they handle, and so that's another series that I'll be looking at too.
Ray, how about you? What game are you looking? We talked a little bit earlier this week about the wild card matchups, but today being the day, what of these games are you looking forward to? We just lost Ray. He was so excited. He wanted to go get a head start on watching Tampa Bay and Cleveland. So, all right, let's just move on from that.
Oh my God, that was so funny.
That was perfect timing.
Like you asked him, like, what's he excited for, and he just bags out.
He's like, I'm gonna go watch this game in 15 minutes. I'll be back. I think for myself, wow. I want to see 2 scary teams in the NL. I think are the Cardinals against the Phillies. You had mentioned Frankie. I'm with you. I think the Cardinals are very scary. They're riding high with Albert Pujols' revival of a season, even in limited action. You got Arenado, you got Goldschmidt, you got a lot of good things to like there. Yes, the Phillies have a lot of power in their lineup, but they also have a rough pitching staff. Like that pitching staff gives up a lot of runs. I think that's going to be the intriguing matchup, is how can that bullpen hold up against the Cardinals in a late game situation. So I think the Cardinals can pull off the upset, if you will, in the wild card. And I know the Mets had the lead so many games and so many days into leading up into
178 to be exact.
Yes, thank you. 178 days.
Yep.
Yes, they won their last series. They swept the Nationals. But before that, I just got this feeling that the Mets are gonna pull a Mets move and they're gonna lose in the wild card. I just got that feeling. The Padres, yes, they're missing Fernando Tatis Jr., but you still got Juan Soto, you still got Manny Machado, you still got Clevenger. Like those guys, I watch for them to step up in this series. And yes, it's traveling across country. That's going to be a challenge. But I just got this feeling that I think the Mets are going to go down in the wild card. I'm also looking at Seattle. I'm really, thank you, Rob Scott. We appreciate it. Appreciate the love on Facebook. I'm really intrigued to watch Seattle Toronto because I think, while yes, I'm excited to see this series play out, I think this series could be a matchup that we should see in later rounds, just based on how the two of them have been playing. I'm excited to see it in the wild card, but I'm kind of sad that we get to see it so early because I think these are teams that can make deep playoff runs.
Yeah.
And
I liked how the wild card was before, which was the one and done. They didn't really have to make it a 3-game series, but
yep.
I get it. They're trying to get more money and and all that, but the wild card was more exciting when it was one and done.
Yeah, this is the new format that they're using for Major League Baseball. But as you mentioned, Greg, it's all about the Benjamins, baby.
Yeah, it is.
That's what it's about. So I pulled this because now this is our postseason bracket. This is what it looks like.
Right.
And looking forward, I'm curious. Greg and Frankie, wild card picks up today. Who's your World Series pick right now as the bracket looks? And who makes the World Series and who wins it? Frankie, I know your answers, but I'm curious to see who's going to be in the World Series.
I got a Subway World Series going on. I got the New York Yankees versus the New York Mets. I really want to see that. I've been waiting to see that since day one. I think, it's something that us here in New York, we really want to see. And, of course, to come out on top is going to be the New York Yankees, no doubt about it. We're going to annihilate the New York Mets because they don't know how to play in a World Series. Let's be real. Every time they go to the World Series, they end up getting swept. So we're just gonna go ahead and annihilate them. But if it's not gonna be the New York Yankees versus the New York Mets, I'm also gonna go with the New York Yankees versus the Atlanta Braves. I think the Braves have enough manpower and arm strength in the starting pitching rotation to make it to the World Series. They're actually the defending champions, so they'll ever sleep on a defending champion. They know how to get there. They've done it last year. They could do it again this year.
Yeah.
Greg, I see Damien's got the Mariners Dodgers. That's an interesting matchup.
Wow. On the American League side, I know the Yankees got the bashers. They got the home run hitters. Aaron Judge has had a heck of a season. But I don't trust Aaron Boone.
How dare you?
I don't trust Aaron Boone. I don't trust Aaron Boone. There's something when it's playoff time, he does something. It's like, what? And then so I'm gonna go with Houston. Look.
Ew.
I'm gonna go with Houston.
You said ew.
I'm gonna go with Houston. Dusty, he's still, looking for his first chip.
He's still dusty.
Yeah, he's
Dusty.
Dusty's dusty. He's looking for his first, chip still. So I'll roll with Houston on the American League side. And then National League, I want to say the Dodgers, but I can't because I don't trust them either. So, you know what? Mets.
Okay.
Mets.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Mets in the National League. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think they'll go ahead and make it. That'll be a pretty good a World Series. So
No, it wouldn't. Houston will shoot the shit out of the Mets. Excuse my language, but that's not going to be a good World Series. Houston already annihilated the Mets in the regular season. They're not going to do nothing.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's going to be an easy victory for freaking Houston, and I'm going to have to hear it from Jay McLovin's mouth for the whole year, and that's something I don't want to do.
Yeah, and let's be honest. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants.
Yeah,
that.
nobody.
Yeah, nobody wants
Except for
Jay
Jay
McLovin
McLovin.
as a nobody wants Jay McLovin as a champion because then it's the end of it. Trust me.
You never hear the end of it.
Yeah.
Rob Scott said, "Hey, leave Dusty alone. Leave Dusty alone." And Damian's coming right back firing, saying, "Hey, he's the most overrated manager in baseball."
Wow.
I don't know about all that.
No, he's done good everywhere he's been.
Yeah. My pick, Rob Scott's got Yankees Braves. I think that on the NL, I would take the Braves. I think they got hot late again. They've really got all the pieces in place to be able to make another deep postseason run. I think they end up taking down the Dodgers in the NLCS. The American League to me is a lot harder to pick. Yeah. I think the Yankees make the ALCS, but who they play is the question mark for me right now. I probably would have to take a Toronto Yankees ALCS.
We're smoking them. We're going to be smoking on that Toronto pack.
And I'm going to take the Blue Jays Braves in the World Series.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
I got the Braves going back to back.
Canada.
Yeah, if Toronto make the World Series, I'm going with the Braves too. They have a better shot at beating Toronto. Toronto's too ass, which is why I said we're going to smoke on that Toronto pack, but you want to go ahead and smoke on that Craig pack and be like Toronto.
I look at some of where Toronto has really succeeded. He said, God, I love Frankie. We love Frankie too. That's why we like having him here on the morning show, ASAP in the morning. But that's kind of my pick where it's like, it's not always going to be chalk, right? It's not always going to be chalk. So that's my pick of I don't think, that's kind of my pick for the non-chalk pick. I think the Braves and the Blue Jays. However, I would not be entirely surprised whatsoever agreeing with Rob Scott, the Yankees and the Braves. I think that would be a very intriguing World Series.
I would love it.
Very intriguing World Series.
I would love it because our other co-host, Logan Landers, he's an Atlanta Braves fan, and me and him, we'd never go at it. And trust me, if we end up in the World Series, we would be going at it.
Now, Frankie, if the Yankees don't make the World Series or win it, is Aaron Boone gone?
Oh, definitely, no doubt about it. He's gone.
Okay.
I've been saying it since day one. I mean, the man had a fantastic start to the season, and once he had a terrible second half right after the All-Star break, it pissed me off. Honestly, it made me fall off the Yankee train for a little bit. And I said they needed to have a strong September in order to get my heart back, and that's exactly what they did. They had a strong September, and they worked my heart back. But during that streak of losing, I said since Aaron Boone has done this and ruined the chance of doing anything fantastic, getting over 110 wins or anything like that. I said that he's on the hot seat. He's got to win the playoff games. He's got to win the World Series. If he gets eliminated early into the playoff game, he's definitely fired. If he makes it to the World Series and lose it, I wouldn't say he wouldn't be fired. I would say he probably has one more year left in him because he got them to the World Series. He just didn't get the ring. But if he wins the World Series, man, he's probably getting an extension.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you there, Frankie. In New York, in the Bronx, every single year the expectations are World Series title or bust. So for Aaron, if you fail to get to the World Series, you're probably done. Whether you lose in the ALDS, the ALCS, if you do not get to the World Series, you're guaranteed to be done. If you get to the World Series, I agree, Frankie, you might have a little bit longer of a leash. See, Mike's not too far off from me here.
Wow, St. Louis.
I got the Blue Jays and the Braves. So I'm right. I'm half there with you.
Wow.
Blue Jays and the Braves.
Mike's smoking on something. I don't know. I don't know what he's smoking on. But Blue Jays and the St. Louis Cardinals. Come on,
wow.
man.
Cardinals
Oh,
are hot. The Braves have been just as hot, if not hotter. But the first game starts at 12:07, just a few minutes from now.
Yep.
So we're gonna kind of segue in getting everybody ready for Major League Baseball. Wild card is today, but hey, if you like any of the content here, ASAP in the morning is always a fun time. Whether we've got Greg, Ray, Frankie, Mike, we've got a ton of characters here on All Sports All Plays Network. And if you like the content you see, you like joining us here in the morning and getting your cup of coffee, joining us from 10 a.m. to noon, Monday through Friday. We're here on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Twitter. And you can find us here on your screen on YouTube, ASAP Sports Network, on Facebook, at All Sports All Plays, on Twitter at ASAP Network 1, and on Twitch at ASAP Network. Had a lot of interaction from all the different platforms today, so we thank you so much for your participation. We love interacting with everyone here on the show. Hit a like, hit a share, comment, subscribe on whatever platform you are watching from. The weekend is here, gentlemen. We are just a few short hours away from the weekend, and playoff baseball comes up 12:07. The Guardians and the Rays. Frankie, thank you for joining us this morning. Greg from Red Kingdom, thank you for joining us this morning as well. For Greg and for Frankie, I am Craig. Have a great weekend, everyone, and maybe we'll see Frankie on Monday talking some.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy playoff baseball, enjoy college football, and enjoy the NFL. We'll see you Monday morning at 10 a.m.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.